The sky cracked open with fire. It was supposed to be a peaceful morning on the desert planet Cybernetic. The twin suns had just started rising, casting a golden glow across the sand dunes. Alien children were playing near the water wells. Merchants opened their stalls in the village square. Everything seemed normal. Then, the scream of metal tore through the silence. High above, black ships pierced the sky. They were not Cthulhu ships. These were bigger, darker, and angry. Their engines thundered like monsters. Moments later, bright lights shot down from the ship's explosions followed. Buildings shattered. People ran. Mothers screamed for their children. The ground shook among the chaos. A young alien girl with glowing pink eyes and long purple hair sprinted through the streets. Her name was Sarah. She was only 17 cycles old. Just old enough to be considered an adult in her tribe. She wasn't a soldier. She wasn't ready for war. But war had come. Anyway, Sarah tried to get to her home, a small dome-shaped hut on the edge of the village. She needed to find her little brother. He had been sick for days, but before she reached the door, another blast hit nearby. The force knocked her off her feet. Pain ripped through her leg. She looked down and screamed. Her right leg was gone. From the knee down, blood mixed with sand. She couldn't move. She couldn't even cry. Her heart beat like a drum in her ears. Everything felt cold. As the world started to blur, shadows moved above her. 2 armored alien soldiers approached. Weapons drawn, they were not from her planet. Their armor was smooth and shiny, with glowing red lights. One of them pointed at her, said something in a deep alien tongue. Sarah tried to crawl. The soldier aimed, then a sharp human voice echoed, "Put the weapon down." A tall figure jumped between Sarah and the soldiers. He wore a dark green exosuit, medical tags hanging from his belt. His helmet slid open, revealing a human face scarred but calm. His eyes scanned Sarah's wound and the soldiers. "She's not your enemy," he said, louder now. "She's a civilian. She's bleeding out. Move aside, or I swear I'll put you both down." The soldiers hesitated. This wasn't part of their orders. They slowly backed away. The human dropped to his knees beside Sarah, hands moving fast. He pulled a pressure bandage from his kit and wrapped her stump tightly. He spoke to her gently, even though she couldn't understand his words. Sarah didn't know this human, but she knew he had saved her life. His name was Dr. Eric Voss, a combat medic from Earth. He had been stationed on a nearby research outpost. Before the attack, the distress signal from Cathon had reached his team minutes before the comms went dark. Against orders, he'd flown his medical skimmer straight into the war zone. He didn't know who was attacking. He didn't care. He only cared about saving lives. Now, he had a half-conscious alien girl bleeding in his arms. Time was running out. He looked around for help. None came. "You're going to be okay," he whispered, not knowing if she could hear him. "I won't let you die out here." Eric activated a beacon. His AI assistant responded. "Med-drone incoming. Eta en 60 seconds." He kept pressure on her wound. Sarah blinked up at him. Her eyes were full of fear. She tried to speak, but only a soft sound came out. Don't talk." Eric adjusted the oxygen patch on her neck. "Save your strength." The drone arrived. It floated down and extended its arms. Eric helped it lift Sarah onto the stretcher, but he could already tell it was too late to save the leg. He had to make a choice, and it had to be fast. Back at his mobile medbay, Eric worked like a machine. Scanners confirmed what he feared. The infection was spreading. The damaged tissue was dying fast. If he didn't amputate immediately, she would die within hours. He stood over the surgery table. The alien girl lay unconscious, her breathing shallow, her body trembling. He tapped into his suit's AI run full scan on Cthulhu physiology, he said. Then prep for emergency cybernetic installation. Warning, cybernetic limb not designed for this species. "I don't care," Eric growled. "We'll adapt it." This wasn't the first time he had improvised in war. But this was different. She wasn't just a patient. Something about her eyes, her fear, her strength, he felt responsible for her now. As the surgical arm lowered, he said quietly, "Hang on, kid, I'm going to give you a second chance." The operation began. Hours passed outside, the war grew worse. Explosions echoed in the distance. Radio calls turned to static. The skies rained ashdot inside the medbay. The lights flickered, but Eric didn't stop. The cybernetic leg he installed wasn't made for her species. He had to rewire the neural connectors manually. Her body rejected it twice, but he didn't. Give up. Not this girl, not today. When the procedure was finally done, he stepped back. Her breathing was steady. Her new leg, metal, black and sleek, moved slightly. A success. Eric sat down heavily, covered in sweat. He looked at the alien girl, sleeping quietly on the table. "You're going to walk again," he said softly. Stronger than ever. But what Eric didn't know, Sarah was no ordinary alien girl. She was the daughter of a high Chthon leader, and her rescue would soon draw the attention of powerful enemies and dangerous allies. The war had just begun, and the medic's life was about to change forever. Asterisk. Sarah opened her eyes slowly. The world looked different, blurry, strange. She was lying on a soft bed, not sand. The air was cooler. Machines beeped softly nearby. Strange lights glowed from the ceiling. The walls weren't made of stone, they were smooth and silver. She wasn't in her village anymore. She tried to move and froze. Something was wrong. She looked down. Her right leg was metal, shiny black steel where there used to be flesh and skin. The leg had strange lines glowing blue. It moved slightly on its own, reacting to her breath. Sarah gasped and tried to sit up. Pain shot through her side. Suddenly, a voice called out, "Hey, easy there." The human medic rushed to her side. His helmet was off. His brown eyes were calm, focused. He placed a hand on her shoulder and spoke slowly. "You're safe now. You're in my medbay. I'm Dr. Eric Voss." Sarah couldn't understand his words, but she could feel his tone. It was gentle, kind. She looked at her leg again, then at him. Her lips trembled. "Why?" she asked in her own language. Eric didn't understand the words, but he knew the question. He pulled out a small device and tapped it. The translator buzzed softly. A robotic voice repeated Sarah's question in English. "Why did you help me?" Eric smiled slightly. "Because you needed help, and I'm a medic, that's what I do." The translator repeated his words in Sarah's language. Her eyes widened. She pointed at her leg. "This is not mine." "No," Eric said. "Yours was too damaged. I gave you something better." She stared at him in silence. Then she reached out and touched the metal limb. Slowly, it didn't feel like a dream. Outside the medbay, the desert burned. The invaders called the Coalition were not just raiders, they were here to take over the Chthon lands. The village Sarah came from had been one of the first targets. Most survivors had scattered. Others were captured. But news of a human saving a Chthon girl was already spreading. And not everyone was happy about it. Far across the desert, in a massive underground bunker, a tall figure stood before a glowing screen. She was armored in golden plates, her face hidden by a mask shaped like a hawk. Her name was General Rashiva, the Zarnok commander. She watched the footage of Eric saving Sarah. The drones had recorded everything. His ship, his face, his voice, his actions. She clenched her fists. "This human interferes too much," she growled. "And the girl he saved." She paused, zooming in on Sarah's face. Then, she laughed. "Fate is strange. That girl is no common child. She's bloodline to the Chthon high families. They will not let this insult go unpunished." Her second-in-command stepped forward. "Shall I send a bounty hunter?" Rashiva nodded. "Send Zern. Tell him, bring me the girl and the human who thinks he's a hero." Back in the medbay, Sarah tried standing. Eric held her hand as she took her first steps with the cybernetic leg. It felt strange to light, too quiet, but it moved perfectly. Almost better than her real leg. Eric had programmed it to match her nerve signals. She stumbled once, then caught herself. Eric grinned. That's it, you're a fighter. Sarah looked confused. The translator repeated his words. She smiled, just a little. Later, while she rested, Eric looked at his tablet. The scans from her blood sample had just come in. He frowned. The DNA markers were unique royal lineage. That meant she wasn't just any alien girl. She might be political, important, maybe even dangerous to protect. No wonder someone tried to kill her. He whispered. Still, it didn't matter to him. He didn't save people based on who they were. But now, he realized he might have just become a target himself. Night fell. Eric activated the defense field around his camp. It buzzed quietly, forming a light blue dome around the medbay. No one could enter without triggering alarms. He sat near Sarah, who was finally sleeping peacefully. He whispered, more to himself than her. Rest while you can, kid. Something tells me this peace won't last. He was right, because miles away, a bounty hunter named Zern stepped off his ship, claws tapping on the steel ramp. He was huge, half machine, half lizard, and wore armor made from the bones of his kills. He sniffed the dry air. His target, a human medic and a half-royal girl with a metal leg, and Zern never failed. Asterisk, Zern moved like a shadow over the dunes. His claws dug into the sand with each step. His armor was silent, but his red eyes glowed like fire. On his back, a long black weapon pulsed with energy. Around his neck hung trophies, bones, fangs, broken metals, all taken from enemies he had hunted. He was the Zarnok Coalition's most feared bounty hunter, and now he had a name. Eric Voss. Human medic. Dangerous. Zern whispered the words, letting the sand carry them away. He smiled. Inside the medbay, Sarah trained Eric had cleared the room, placing soft mats on the floor. He stood nearby, holding a wooden stick like a sword. Sarah, still weak but determined, raised her hands. Again, she said. Eric smiled. She had learned that word, fast. He stepped forward, slowly swinging the stick. Sarah dodged it with a small hop, using her new leg. The cybernetic moved faster. She lost balance, falling onto the mat. You're doing fine, Eric said. The translator echoed his words in her language. Sarah frowned. Too fast, leg, too strong. That's a good thing, Eric replied. You just need to learn control. You'll get it. She sat up, breathing hard. Sweat dripped from her forehead. Why train me? She asked. Because Eric said. Serious now. Someone's coming, someone dangerous. And I want you to be ready. Sarah nodded. She didn't need a translator for that. Later that night, Eric scanned the radar. A faint signal flashed, moving fast across the desert. He zoomed in. Not a caravan, not a wild animal. This thing was flying low. Too fast, too straight. It's him, Eric said under his breath. He turned to Sarah. We have to move. They packed quickly. Eric loaded his med supplies, weapons, food rations, and tools into a hover skimmer. Sarah climbed into the passenger seat. Her cybernetic leg adjusted to the grip, locking her in place. Where go? She asked. South, Eric answered. There's an old military shelter hidden in the canyons. We'll be safe, therefore, now. The skimmer rose and shot across the sand. But they weren't alone. Zern watched from a distance, eyes locked. Onto the glowing trail the skimmer left behind. Run all you want, he growled. I like a good chase. The canyons of Cathan were sharp and narrow. Rocks towered over the trail, and the wind howled through them like spirits. Eric parked the skimmer beneath a stone overhang. He led Sarah into a tunnel hidden behind a dead tree. Inside, it was dark and silent. The shelter's doors were old, but Eric had a code. The door opened with a heavy hiss. Lights flickered to life. Inside was a forgotten world. Medical beds, supply crates, food packs, and solar batteries. Dust covered everything, but it was still usable. We'll stay here until the storm passes, Eric said. Sarah looked around in wonder. This place. Safe, it will be, he said. As long as he doesn't find us. That night, Sarah had a nightmare. She dreamed of the day her leg was taken. The explosion, the pain, the alien soldiers, the sound of metal cutting flesh. She woke up, shaking. Tears in her eyes. Eric was already awake, watching the monitors. He turned and gave her a small smile. Nightmares. She nodded. Same here, he said. War never leaves easy. He offered her a protein bar. She took it, chewing slowly. Then her eyes widened. Something coming. She said. Eric spun to the screen. Red lights blinked. The shelter's motion. Sensors had been triggered. Someone was outside. Eric grabbed his weapon, a pulse rifle with limited ammo. He handed Sarah a stun pistol. Stay close. Don't shoot unless you have to. They moved to the entrance hallway. Everything was silent. Then bang, the door shook. Again, the metal dented inward. He found us, Eric whispered. Sarah raised her pistol with shaking hands. The door exploded. Smoke filled the room, and through it walked Zern. 7 feet tall, eyes glowing, weapon ready. He didn't speak, he just pointed at Sarah. Eric stepped in front of her. She's under my protection, he said. Zern didn't answer. He lifted his plasma cannon. Eric fired first. His rifle hit Zern in the chest. Sparks flew. Zern didn't flinch. He fired back. Eric dodged, but the blast hit the wall, sending Sarah flying. She screamed. Eric ran to her. Her new leg was sparking. Damaged, Zern marched forward. Eric aimed again. But Zern was too fast. He knocked the rifle from Eric's hands. Then he grabbed Eric by the neck and lifted him. Die now, Zern hissed. Sarah groaned. Her hand reached the stun pistol. Her eyes narrowed with all her strength. She raised a tan shot. Zern roared. Electricity ran through his body. He dropped Eric, stumbling back. Eric hit the ground. Gasping, Sarah stood up, her cybernetic leg shaking. No kill, she said. Not today. Zern lunged again. This time, Eric grabbed a flare gun and fired at Zern's face. Flash. Zern screamed, blinded by the light. Eric and Sarah ran deeper into the shelter, sealing the door behind them. They collapsed in a dark room, breathing hard. Eric coughed. That was too close. Sarah leaned on him. He come back. Eric nodded. Soon, and next time, we may not escape. But then he looked at her. You saved me, he said. She smiled faintly. You saved me first. They weren't just medic and patient now. They were partners, and soon, they'd need each other more than ever, because Zern wasn't done, and he wasn't the only one hunting them. The air in the shelter was heavy. Smoke still floated near the broken hallway. Lights flickered. Eric's hand was burned from the flare gun. Sarah sat beside him, reattaching a loose panel on her cybernetic leg. They had survived the first fight, but Zern was still out there somewhere, watching, waiting. Eric stood and checked his tablet. The energy scanners blinked again. Zern had pulled back, but not far. He was nearby, likely planning his next move. He's not leaving, Eric muttered. He wants you, badly. Sarah looked at her leg, then at Eric. Why me? Eric didn't answer right away. He opened a drawer in the shelter wall and pulled out a metal chip. It was the backup data from her cybernetic leg deep systems. Scan he had run after the operation. He plugged it into his tablet. The screen loaded slowly, then stopped. Access denied. He tried again, same result. That's strange, he whispered. I installed the leg myself. Why is it locked? Sarah tilted her head. What is it? Your leg. It's hiding something. Something I didn't program. Sarah touched her thigh where metal met skin. Like secret. Eric nodded. Yes. And if your enemies know about it, then that's why they're hunting you. Eric spent the next hour rigging traps. He placed small explosives in the hallway triggered by motion. The old shelter had working defense nodes, and he connected them to the door locks. The laser grid above the ceiling was still offline, but he planned to fix it. If Zern comes again, he said, tightening a bolt, we make sure he regrets it. Sarah helped. She laid wire traps across the entrance tunnel. Her movements were fast, now her cybernetic leg adjusting automatically. She had learned to control it. Eric watched her. "You're learning fast." She smiled. "I have good teacher." Eric chuckled. "Remind me to add combat trainer to my resume." As they worked, Sarah paused, her eyes fixed on a dusty banner half buried under a supply crate. She pulled it out. The fabric was old, but the symbol on it was clearer white flame inside a silver circle. Her eyes widened. "I know this," she said. Eric walked over. "What is it?" Sarah touched the symbol carefully. "Cathanon Royal House. My mother's family." Eric stared at her. "Your royalty," Sarah hesitated. "Not queen, but family." Eric leaned back against the wall, sighing. That explains so much. The cybernetic leg, the bounty hunter, the hidden message in her body. She wasn't just a survivor, she was a symbol, a threat to the Zarnok invasion, and now, Eric realized they didn't just want her dead, they wanted her silenced. Outside, Zern crouched near a rock ridge. He tapped a device on his wrist. A small drone flew up silently, scanning the area. It showed the cave system and the life signs inside. Zern grinned. "They're still here, and they think they're safe." He didn't plan to charge in again. This time he'd send in something else. From a small case, he pulled out a black sphere. He pressed a button. The sphere unfolded into a small metal spider, red lights blinking from its eyes. "Go," Zern whispered. The spider crawled down the rock and into the canyon, inside the shelter. Eric was working on the laser defense system. When the motion alarm buzzed, "Something's coming," he said. He pulled up the monitor feed. Nothing but the sensors showed movement. Tiny movement, fast. He zoomed in. A spider drone. "We've got a breach," he shouted. Sarah ran to him. "What?" "Small drone. Scouting or worse, marking targets." Sarah didn't wait. She grabbed a wrench and sprinted down the hall. Her cybernetic leg gave her speed and balance. She spotted the drone near the Wensamol, silent, deadly. She threw the wrench. Clang. Direct hit. The drone sparked and twitched, then exploded. Boom. Smoke filled the hallway. Eric ran in, coughing. "You okay?" Sarah smiled through the smoke. "Yes, fast leg helps." Eric nodded, impressed. That drone would have mapped the whole shelter in seconds. "You just saved us." But he also knew Cern now knew where they were hiding. Eric and Sarah sat in the back room later, eating protein bars. They were tired, bruised, but alive. Eric pulled out the chip from her leg again. This time, he tried a new method, using the old Cathone code symbols. Sarah remembered from the banner. He entered a sequence. The screen blinked. Access granted. Lines of alien code appeared. Eric translated it slowly. Then he froze. "What is it?" Sarah asked. Eric looked at her voice. "Low. Your cybernetic leg." "Is not just a leg?" Sarah blinked. "Not understand. There's a signal system built inside it. A beacon hidden deep in the code, and its active beacon. A call for help." Sarah stood. "From who?" Eric turned the screen. "The Cathone resistance." Far across the galaxy, a single message blinked on a dark console, deep inside a hidden ship. "Beacon found. Royal signature confirmed. Prepare retrieval team." Back in the shelter, Eric and Sarah looked at each other. Help might be coming, but so was war. Outside the canyon, Zern loaded his plasma cannon. No more drones, no more warnings. He was going in. This time, one way or another, the hunt would end. Morning broke over the Cathon Canyon, but there was no peace. The shelter's alarms screamed loudly as the outer motion detectors were triggered again. Eric jumped out of his bedroll. He's back. Sarah was already awake. Her new leg clicked into ready mode. She grabbed her stun pistol and checked its power level. "We fight," she said. Eric nodded grimly. "We fight." The scanner flashed again. Zern was here, and he wasn't alone. 2 armored drones hovered behind him, each carrying heavy plasma cannons. Zern gave them a simple order: destroy the shelter. Inside, Eric and Sarah watched the feed. The drones moved fast. Eric rushed to the laser panel. I got the grid working last night. Let's see if it was worth the effort. He activated it. A red beam shot across the narrow entrance path. One drone crossed the line. BZZZT. The laser grid lit up, slicing clean through its power core. It exploded mid-air. The second drone backed away, but now it was alone. Eric aimed his rifle and fired. The shot missed, but Sarah was ready. She stepped into the open, crouched low, and fired her stun pistol. The blue pulse hit the drone's sensor. It spun wildly, then smashed into a rock and broke apart. Eric turned to her in shock. "You're getting good at that." Sarah gave a proud grin. Fast leg, fast brain. But Zern didn't care about drones. He marched forward through the smoke, holding a massive energy shield. Eric and Sarah fired together, but the shield absorbed every shot. He's blocking everything. Eric shouted. Zern threw a shock grenade. Boom. The blast knocked them both off their feet. Eric's visor cracked. Sarah hit the wall, dazed. Zern stepped into the shelter. He grabbed Eric by the vest and slammed him into a table. "Enough games," he growled. Sarah tried to shoot, but Zern kicked her weapon away. "The girl is coming with me." Suddenly, a new sound filled the air. The deep hum of starship engines. Zern looked up. CONFUSED, a sleek black vessel hovered over the canyon, casting a long shadow. Symbols on the hull glowed with white fire. Eric recognized them immediately. The Cathan Resistance. Ropes dropped from the ship. Figures in silver and blue armor descended fast. Cathan warriors. Each carried plasma rifles and shields with the royal flame symbol. Zern snarled. More prey. The warriors opened fire. Zern dove behind a pillar, dodging energy blasts. Eric crawled to Sarah and helped her up. One of the resistance fighters rushed to them. Princess Sahar. He shouted in the Cathan tongue. "We have come for you." Sarah blinked. "You know me. We serve your mother. Your rescue was our mission." Eric raised an eyebrow. "Your mother sent them." Sarah looked away. Didn't think she cared. The battle raged. Zern took down two warriors with brutal shots. His armor deflected most attacks. He moved like a beast, quick and merciless. But the warriors surrounded him. One used a net gun trapping. His legs. Another slammed an EMP device onto his back. Zern roared, trying to break free. Sarah limped forward, her legs still sparking from the shock blast. She raised her pistol again. Zern locked eyes with her. "You think this is the end?" he hissed. "No," she said calmly. "It's the beginning." She fired. The shot hit him right between the eyes. His helmet cracked. He fell backward, finally unconscious. The battle was over. The resistance team moved in and sealed Zern inside a stasis pod, their commander. A tall female warrior named Captain Alira saluted Sarah. "Your mother waits for you in the capital. We must return." Sarah hesitated. She looked at Eric. He was sitting on a broken crate, holding his cracked visor, bleeding from his forehead. "He saved me," she told Alira. "I go nowhere without him." Alira frowned. "He is human. He cannot enter the royal halls." "Then I don't enter either," Sarah said firmly. Eric coughed. "Thanks for the support. But, are you sure that's wise?" Sarah walked to him. "You gave me a new leg, a new life. I owe you everything." Eric sighed. "Well, guess I'm going to a palace then." Hours later, the ship soared above the desert. Sarah and Eric stood by the window, watching the canyon disappear behind them. Eric's wounds were wrapped. Sarah's leg had been recalibrated by resistance. Engineers it was now stronger, faster, and fully synced with her mind. Eric finally asked, "What happens now?" Sarah looked out at the stars. "Now, I meet the mother who left me, and we find out why my leg was built with a hidden beacon." Eric nodded. "And if they don't like me," Sarah smiled, "then they have to deal with me." But deep inside the resistance ship, something else stirred. A secret file unlocked inside Sarah's cybernetic system. A message began to play in her mind, one no one else could hear. A voice from long ago, her mother's voice. "If you're hearing this, it means war is coming. And you are the key to stopping it." Sarah's eyes widened. The truth had only just begun. Asterisk, the Resistance ship soared quietly through space. Inside the cabin, Sarah sat alone in her quarters. The walls were silver, the lights dimmed. Her cybernetic leg rested on a platform, charging. She stared ahead, eyes wide, because the voice was still playing in her mind. It wasn't just any voice, it was her mother. The one she hadn't seen in years. "Sarah, my daughter," the voice said softly, deep in her memory. "If you are hearing this, it means I failed. I was taken, or worse. And now, only you can stop what is coming." Sarah sat frozen, her heart beat faster. The cybernetic leg was not just for healing, it holds a key, a code, something our enemies must never unlock. If they do, all of Cathan could fall. Sarah looked down at her metal limb. Suddenly, it felt heavier. "I hid the truth inside you because you were the last one I could trust. I know I wasn't there for you. I had to protect you from the shadows. I'm sorry, Sarah." Then the message ended. Silence returned. Sarah touched her leg gently. She didn't know what the key was, but now she understood. Zern didn't just want to capture her. He was sent to extract the code inside her body, and that meant others would come to Dot stronger, smarter, deadlier. Eric sat in the ship's medbay, checking his cracked visor. He had taken a few hits during the canyon battle. Nothing serious, but he didn't want to show it. He was still thinking about Sarah's strength, the way she had stood up to Zern, the way she had claimed her past. He didn't say it, but he was proud. Very proud. Sarah entered the room quietly. Eric looked up. "You okay?" She nodded, then paused. "Heard. Message." Eric sat forward. "Message." Sarah pointed at her head. "From Mother, inside leg." Eric blinked. "What did she say?" "Code is inside me. Big code, important." Eric frowned. "What kind of code?" "Don't know." Eric stood and walked to the scanner. "We need to find out before someone else does." Captain Alira entered the room with 2 guards. "We're approaching the capital city," she said. "Prepare to meet the Queen." Eric raised an eyebrow. "The Queen, as in Sarah's mother?" Alira gave a short nod. "Yes, Queen Vala, leader of the Cathan people." Sarah looked down. She hadn't seen her mother since she was a child. She remembered a soft face, long silver hair, strong hands, but no hugs, no comfort, only silence and duty. Would her mother even recognize her? Would she care? The capital city of Veltharion glowed like crystal beneath the twin moons. Floating towers reached into the sky, surrounded by rivers of light. Alien ships soared above the city like birds. The main palace stood on a cliff edge, protected by shield domes and ancient statues. The Resistance ship landed gently on the golden pad. Guards in shining armor waited. Eric and Sarah stepped out together, eyes turned toward them, specially to Eric, a human. One of the guards whispered. "He saved me," Sarah said firmly. "He comes with me." No one questioned her. She was royalty now. Inside the palace, everything sparkled. Crystal floors, fire-shaped chandeliers, wall paintings made of glowing dust. Eric walked beside Sarah, feeling out of place. His boots clanked against the clean floor. He touched nothing. They reached the throne room. The tall doors opened slowly. Inside, Queen Valari sat on a silver throne. Her face was calm, her silver hair flowing behind her crown. She looked powerfully attired, her eyes locked onto Sarah. For a moment, the room was silent. Then the Queen stood. "My daughter," she said softly. Sarah didn't move. "Why leave me?" she asked. Her voice didn't shake. It was strong. Queen Valari looked down. "Because I had no choice." Eric stood quietly at Sarah's side. He didn't speak. The Queen waved her hand. Everyone else left the room. Only 3 remained. Sarah, Eric, and the Queen. Valari stepped forward. "I had to hide you when the war started. You were too young. If the Zarnok found you, they would have used you against me." Sarah asked, "Why the leg?" The Queen's face darkened. "Inside your leg is a code. To the Guardian Core." Eric frowned. "What's the Guardian Core?" "A weapon, a system created long ago to protect Cathan. But it was sealed. Only royal DNA and neural access can unlock it. Sarah realized the truth. You made me the key. Queen Valari nodded. I didn't want to, but there was no one else left. Suddenly Lambs screamed. A guard burst into the chamber. My queen, there's been a breach. Unknown ship landed near the outer wall. Eric drew his stun pistol. Zern, no, the guard said. Something worse. A shadow-class infiltrator. Sarah tensed. Eric looked at the queen. You said there'd be more. You were right. The queen turned to Sarah. You must reach the Guardian Vault. It's the only safe place left. You and your human medic. Sarah nodded. Eric didn't hesitate. Let's go. In the shadows beyond the city wall, a figure moved through smoke. It wore black armor that shimmered like oil. Its eyes glowed blue. Its name was Silaxand. It had one mission: find the royal girl, extract the code, and kill anyone in the way. The palace lights turned red. Sirens screamed through the halls. Guards shouted orders. Gates slammed shut. The outer shield dome flickered under stress. Eric followed close behind Sarah as they ran through a glowing corridor. The floor lit up with every step they took. Behind them, Queen Valeris' words echoed. In Eric's mind, take Sarah to the Guardian Vault. Protect her at all costs. Eric clenched his jaw. The Queen had trusted him, and now the entire planet depended on the code. Hidden in Sarah's leg, Silax moved through the shadows of Veltharian like smoke. No one saw him enter. No alarm caught him. One by one, palace guards fell quietly, efficiently. Silax wasn't just a soldier. He was built for infiltration. His armor shifted colors with each movement. His hands turned into blades, claws, or tools. His mind linked with machines. He scanned every surface for Sarah's biosignature. He found it, near the vault wing. He turned silent as wind, and followed. Sarah and Eric reached a sealed gate. 2 Kython guards stood before it. Princess, one saluted. We're under lockdown. Only you can open this gate. Sarah stepped forward and pressed her palm to the scanner. A red beam scanned her eye. Then her leg. The panel blinked. Access granted. The giant gate rumbled open. Inside, a narrow staircase led down into darkness. Eric turned on his headlamp. Hope. This vault's as secure as they say. Sarah didn't smile. It has to be. Down, down, down. They descended a spiral path, ancient symbols glowing on the walls. The air turned cooler. The noise of the city faded above them. Then they reached it. A massive silver door, covered in circular patterns and strange lines that looked like veins in the center. A slot glowed faintly, perfectly shaped for Sarah's cybernetic leg. Eric raised an eyebrow. That's oddly specific. Sarah stepped forward, heart pounding. Let's find out what's inside. She inserted her leg into the slot. A light surged through the door. It began to pulse, slow at first, then faster. The lines on the walls lit up, traveling down the corridor like lightning. Eric stepped back. Something's waking up. Above, Silax reached the vault stairway. The 2 guards were gone. Unconscious on the ground, Silax examined them. Still breathing, he didn't care. He moved into the stairwell fast. Silent, inside the vault, the giant door slowly opened. Beyond it was a circular chamber filled with floating crystals, spinning rings, and glowing glyphs. At the center hovered a massive sphere of pure white energy. Eric stared in awe. This is tech I've never seen before. Sarah stepped into the room. The crystals turned to face her. Symbols blinked across their surfaces. Then a voice echoed through the chamber. Royal signal accepted. Guardian protocol ready. A hologram of Queen Valari appeared, much younger, wearing armor. If this moment has come, then is on the edge of destruction. Only you, Sarah, can awaken the Guardian. Only your voice and code will unlock its power. Sarah looked up. But what is the Guardian? A planetary defense system. Shield domes, AI weapons, sky barriers, built in secret, waiting for the last hope. Eric whispered, a hidden shield network that could save the planet. Voice continued, but once activated, The Guardian will draw the attention of every enemy in this part of the galaxy. You must choose wisely. The hologram faded. Sarah turned to Eric. Should I activate it? Before he could answer, clang, a sound echoed down the stairs. Footsteps. Metal scraping. Eric raised his weapon. He's here. Silax stepped into the vault. His form shifted, blades extended from his arms. His body shimmered like liquid metal. He scanned the room. Human. Step away. Eric aimed. Not a chance. Silax moved fast. Too fast. He kicked Eric across the chamber. The human crashed into the wall, groaning. Sarah screamed. She grabbed a crystal staff, nearby once part of the Guardian system, and pointed it at Silax. Stay back. He walked forward, slow and sure. You don't know how to use that. Maybe not, Sarah said. She stabbed it into the ground. The staff glowed. A wave of energy surged through the room. Silax flew backward, slamming into the wall. Eric stood, bleeding from his mouth. Nice move, not done yet. Sarah limped to the sphere in the center. Guardian protocol, she said loudly. Activate. Full power. The crystals spun. Faster. The rings around the sphere aligned. Energy filled the room. Guardian system awakening. Outside the city, giant towers lit up. Sky domes rose into the air. Satellites came online. Across the planet, shield barriers formed. People stopped and looked up in awe. Veltherian began to glow with protective light. Silax roared. He lunged at Sarah, but this time Eric was ready. He fired directly into Silax's chest. The shot cracked his armor. Then Sarah raised the glowing staff again. She shouted, Guardian, defend me. A crystal drone shot from the ceiling, zapping Silax with high voltage energy. The assassin screamed, fell, and didn't move. Silence returned. Eric limped to Sarah's side. You okay? Sarah's breathing was heavy. Yes, you. He laughed weakly. I've had better days. Then they both looked at the sphere. The Guardian system was alive, but so were new problems. Far away, in the deep void of space, dozens of enemy ships picked up the activation signal. One commander leaned forward. Cathone has activated their ancient Guardian. He smiled. Then we strike now before it grows stronger. Asterisk, the stars were no longer quiet. Across nearby systems, communication lines lit up with warning signals. Cathone's ancient Guardian system had been activated. Its energy signature was strong to ignore. Enemy warlords, raider fleets, and secret empires all noticed, and they began to move at the edge of deep space. The Dreadmar Sovereignty, a powerful and ruthless alien empire, dispatched its first fleet. 1,000 ships turned toward Kashahan. Their mission, destroy the Guardian before it becomes unstoppable. Back in Veltherian, Sarah stood on a wide balcony of the palace. Below her, the glowing shield dome now covered the entire city. The people were safe for now, but war was coming. Behind her, Queen Valari entered. She spoke softly. You did it. You awakened the Guardian. Sarah nodded, but her face was serious. I don't feel like a hero. The Queen looked at her daughter. I know it's a heavy burden, but you were always meant for more. Sarah didn't reply. She wasn't sure she believed that. In the palace command room, Eric studied a hologram of the planet. He traced the lines of energy rising from the Guardian network. Shield towers, weapon arrays, sensor systems all had awakened. This tech is centuries ahead of anything we've seen, he muttered, but it's not complete. Some towers are offline. Some weapons are still cold. A resistance officer confirmed it. Yes, sir. The Guardian is only at 60% strength. It needs more time to fully charge. Eric frowned. Time? We don't have. Suddenly, an alarm blared. The hologram zoomed out to show space around Kython. Unidentified fleet entering outer system, said the AI. Sarah and the Queen rushed in. Who is it? Valari asked. Dreadmar Sovereignty, the officer replied. Their first assault fleet. Estimated arrival, less than 4 hours. Sarah's hands clenched. They're coming for me. Eric stepped beside her. They're coming for the Guardian. But yes, because you started it. She nodded. Then I'll help finish it. The Queen took Sarah aside. They walked through the palace halls, past old statues of former rulers, glowing fountains, and silver doors. Finally, they entered a sealed chamber. Inside, an armored suit floated in Sassus. It wasn't just armor, it was a neural combat interface built centuries ago for royal guardians. Queen Valari turned to Sarah. This was meant for me, but I was never able to use it. It only links with someone tied to the Guardian's core. Sarah understood. My leg. The Queen nodded. And your mind. The Guardian responds to you now. But if you want to protect our people, you'll need to become its pilot. Hours passed in the palace hangar. Eric watched engineers suit Sarah into the neural armor. The pieces clicked onto her body, glowing lines flowing down her arms and chest. Her cybernetic leg synced perfectly. A thin, crown-like headband wrapped around her forehead. The interface blinked. Guardian link stable. Sarah took her first step in the armor. It was like walking inside, wind and fire at the same time. Every movement was faster. Every sound was clearer. She turned to Eric. I'm ready, he smiled. Then let's give them a reason to fear Cathan. Meanwhile, in orbit, the Dreadmar fleet arrived. Dark spiked warships spread across the sky, inside the lead cruiser. Commander Rethan Vaughn leaned over the control table. He wore red-black armor and had skin like cracked stone. His eyes glowed yellow. He pointed at Cathon on the screen. No landings. No warnings. Burn their guardian out of the sky. The fleet moved into attack position. Back on the surface, Guardian towers across Cathon powered up missile arrays. Rose from hidden mountain bunkers. Energy cannons glowed from deep trenches. A sky dome formed above the planet. Sarah stood in the control chamber beneath the palace. Her armor connected to the Guardian core. Eric stood nearby at a support console. Enemy ships entering attack range, said the AI. Sarah's eyes narrowed. Engage outer defenses. Let them know we're not afraid. The Guardian systems responded. Towers lit up. Missiles launched. Energy beams shot into space. A dozen Dreadnought ships exploded in the first minute. But more kept coming. The first wave slammed into Cathon's shields. Explosions rippled across the sky dome. The planet shook. Inside the control room, Sarah gripped the command rails. Her thoughts linked directly with the Guardian AI. She could feel the system's strength, and its limits. Shield is holding, Eric said. But just barely. We need more firepower. Sarah replied. The AI spoke. Core weapon. Sunland still, offline. Charging incomplete. Eric checked the estimate. Sunlands. The AI answered. Primary planetary defense cannon. Located at Cathan Equator. Charging 62%. Sarah understood. If they could hold long enough, they could use it, and maybe end the entire fight with one blast. Outside the planet, the commander growled. Their shields are stronger than expected. Send in the drill ships. Break through. Spiked carriers detached from the fleet and dove toward the planet like flaming spears. They weren't here to shoot. They were here to land, and dig. Eric saw them coming. Sarah, we've got incoming, ground forces. Sarah turned to the Guardian. Control, reroute all surface batteries to Eastern Landing Zone. Do not let them touch the ground. Flak cannons spun into motion. Dozens of drill ships were shredded in midair. But one made it through. It crashed into the desert near a Guardian tower and released a swarm of armored Dreadmar troops. Sarah opened her eyes. Send me there, Eric blinked. What? You're the Guardian link. You have to stay here. I can do more on the battlefield. The system can still run from here with limited commands. It'll connect wirelessly. Eric shook his head. But then he saw her face. And he knew. She wasn't just a scared girl anymore. She was a warrior. Minutes later, Sarah descended from the palace in a Guardian drop pod, her neural armor glowing with power. She landed near the Guardian tower under attack. Enemy troops turned to slow. Sarah raised her hand. A pulse wave knocked them down. She activated the drone swarm. Crystal Guardians flew from her back like birds of light. The Guardian had come to life. and so had its pilot. But far above, in the Dreadmar flagship, Raython Vaughn smiled. He had just received new orders. Send the second fleet, and tell them, the key is on the surface. Alive. Asterisk dust and smoke covered the battlefield. The desert sands of Cathern boiled with fire. Downed enemy ships burned like black scars on the land. Dreadmar soldiers pushed forward, marching in perfect lines with laser rifles and spiked armor. But standing between them and the Guardian Tower was Sarah Dot. Her neural armor glowed with blue-white energy. Drones flew around her like loyal beasts. Her cybernetic leg pressed firmly into the ground, sensors syncing with every tremor. She moved like a storm. Every enemy that came close fell back in the capital, inside the Guardian command chamber. Eric worked with speed. Sweat ran down his forehead. The room shook again as another enemy blast hit the outer shield dome. Reinforcements still hours away. The AI said dot. Eric ignored it. He was deep in the Guardian's old files, tracing hidden code left by the original builder's Cathone scientists from a long-lost age. Then he found it at second layer in Sarah's cybernetic core. What the hell is this? He whispered. It wasn't just a link to the Guardian, it was a trigger. If the code was activated wrong, the Guardian would overload self-destruct. Eric's single quotes stomach turned. Someone had built this as a last resort weapon, and Sarah had no idea. Out in the desert, Sarah fell to one knee. A plasma blast had hit her shoulder. Her armor cracked, smoke rising. The Dreadmar soldiers surrounded her, circling, waiting for the kill. One of them shouted in their tongue, "Capture the key, don't kill her." Sarah stood slowly. Her body trembled, but her eyes were steady. "You want the key?" she said, breathing hard. "Come and take it." She raised her hands. Her drones returned to formation. Then she charged. Eric ran through the palace. Halls, he barged into Queen Valeris' war chamber. "You didn't tell her," he said. The queen looked up. Her face was combat tired. "Tell her, what? That, if her connection goes to deep, if she tries to unlock the full Guardian core, the whole system will explode." "You built it that way?" The queen didn't deny it. It was the only way to keep the core from falling into enemy hands. Eric stepped closer. "She's not a failsafe. She's your daughter." Queen Valari's voice dropped. "And she's the only one who can finish this war." Sarah fought like a force of nature. Her movements were smooth, deadly. Her leg gave her unmatched balance and speed. She leaped through fire, spun under plasma fire, knocked down 3 soldiers in one move. But more came. Hundreds. Too many. Then a warning blinked inside her helmet. Guardian, signal weakening. Core instability detected. Sarah's eyes narrowed. She pushed harder. Eric returned to the control chamber and contacted her through the Guardian link. "Sarah, listen to me. You need to stop." "Can't stop," she panted. "They're too many. If you go too deep into the Guardian core, it could kill you. The whole system could collapse. Your leg holds the final trigger. It's wired to destroy everything." Silence. Then she whispered, "You're sure?" "Yes. I saw the code myself. It wasn't meant to be used only if there was no hope left." Sarah stood still in the middle of the chaos. The enemy surrounded her. Behind them, the Guardian Tower glowed weakly. Above her, the sky shimmered with the light of the second Dreadmar fleet entering orbit. "No hope," she repeated softly. But then her hand clenched. "There's still you." Eric sat stunned. Sarah looked up at the sky. "I'm not using the code. I'm going to fight another way." She overrode her neural link, shifting the Guardian system into manual combat mode. Less power but more control. "If I die," she said, "make sure they remember why." Eric gritted his teeth. "You're not dying today." Far above, Commander Raython Vaughn watched the second fleet arrive. "Begin Phase 2. Fire everything. Bring the city to its knees." Hundreds of missiles launched from space. But as they fell, something rose. The Sunlance. Tharn's most powerful weapon. It had finished charging. The planet shook. A beam of pure light erupted from the equator, slicing through the darkness. Like a blade dot, in 1 second, it destroyed 43 Dreadmar ships. The enemy fleet pulled back. Commander Vaughn cursed. "What is that thing?" On the surface, the enemy paused, the sky lit with fire. Sarah stood tall again. "You see that?" she shouted to the Dreadmar troops. "That's Cathanan, alive, strong, protected." Her drones hovered around her like glowing wings. "Go back, or stay and fall." One soldier charged. She took him down in a single move. The rest backed away. Retreat began. Later, Sarah returned to the palace. Her armor was scorched, her face was bruised, but her head was high. Eric met her at the landing platform. "You did it," he said. "We did it," she replied. Then quietly, "Thank you for warning me." About the code, Eric's face tightened. "They shouldn't have put it in you." Sarah looked past him to the Queen, standing in the shadows. She did what she thought was right, but next time, the decision will be mine. That night, the city of Veltharion glowed in peace, but no one slept, because everyone knew. This was only a pause. The full Dreadmar Armada was still coming, and Sarah's greatest test was still ahead. Asterisk, the skies above Cathan turned red. The full Dreadmar Armada, over 3,000 warships, darkened the stars. From orbit, they looked like a wave of black teeth, each ship brimming with weapons, ready to erase the planet. In the palace war chamber, every screen showed the same message: Dreadmar fleet incoming. Total annihilation probability, 94%. Queen Valari stood with her generals, silent. Eric stood beside her, fists clenched. He turned to Sarah. "You don't have to face this alone." Sarah, now in full Guardian armor, stepped forward. Her voice was steady. "I won't. I have all of Cathan behind me. And you." The Sun Lance had done serious damage during the second wave, but the weapon was drained, and the Guardian towers were overheating. Sarah knew one truth now. The Guardian was not just a system, it was a living weapon, and she was its heart. Her cybernetic leg held the final command key. The energy in her veins connected her to the planet's last defense. She walked into the Guardian core chamber one last time. Eric followed, his toolkit strapped on, watching her every move. "What are you planning?" "Finishing it," she said. Softly, the AI greeted her. Final protocol available. Guardian Unity mode. Caution. Extreme mental link required. Eric's eyes widened. Unity mode, that could fry your brain. Sarah looked at him. "If I don't try, there won't be anything left to protect." He grabbed her wrist gently. "Come back to me," she smiled. "I promise." In the orbiting Dreadmar flagship commander Rethon Vaughn watched the planet below. He sneered. "Time to finish this. Target the capital. Fire all ships." The order echoed through the fleet. Thousands of missiles launched blazing toward Veltharion like falling suns. But Cathan was ready. Inside the Guardian core, Sarah stepped into the energy ring. Her cybernetic leg locked in place. Her mind linked with every part of the system. The crystals spun, the lights pulsed, and her voice rang out. "Guardian, full activation." Across the planet, hidden towers unfolded. From the mountains, from the seas, from the core itself, light poured upward. The sky shield reformed, brighter and thicker than ever before. The first wave of missiles struck, and vanished. Not a single one reached the ground. Then Sarah's mind went beyond the surface. She could see the orbit, the enemy ships, their weapons, their weak points, their power systems. She became the Guardian, and the Guardian was no longer defending, it was attacking. From Veltharion, beams of energy fired into the sky like a storm of fire. Hundreds of Dreadmar ships exploded. Drone swarms launched from underground silos, shooting through space like lightning. The Armada faltered. Commander Rethon stood stunned. "What is this? That system shouldn't exist anymore." His officers panicked. "We're being overwhelmed. We can't hold orbit." But Rethon wasn't ready to lose. "Send the Deathclaw. I will go down myself." On Cathan, as Sarah held the Guardian together with her mind, her body trembled. Her breathing slowed. Eric ran to her. watching her vitals spike on the console. Sarah, the link is too deep. You need to disconnect. But she shook her head. Not yet. One last target. She focused all Guardian energy on the flagship. The Sunlance recharged just enough. A final massive blast shot upward. It ripped through the clouds, straight through. The Deathclaw's hull, Rathon's command center shook. Evacuate. Now? But it was too late. The Guardian's strike tore the ship in half. Flames consumed the Dreadmar flagship, and the remaining fleet retreated. Silence followed. Then cheers rose across every Cathan city, from mountain tribes to ocean dwellers. Everyone saw the sky clear. Cathan was safe. Alive, because of one girl. But in the core, Sarah collapsed. Eric caught her just in time. Hey, stay with me. Her breathing was shallow, her armor powered down. The Guardian shut off all systems silent now that the threat was gone. Eric held her hand tightly. You kept your promise, he whispered. Now keep the next one. Wake up. Sarah's fingers moved, her eyes blinked open. Still here, she whispered. Eric let out a shaky laugh. Of course you are. Days later, peace returned to Cathon. A great ceremony was held in Veltherion. Sarah stood at the center of the royal hall, her armor polished, her cybernetic leg now part of her royal uniform. Eric stood beside her, in formal robes and still clearly uncomfortable. Queen Valari stood before the people. My daughter was once hidden. Now she is our guardian, the living soul of Cathan. Sarah stepped forward. We are not just survivors, she said. We are protectors, and we will stand together, Cathan, and those who fought beside us. She looked at Eric. Even those not born of this world. The crowd roared with cheers. Later, as the stars returned to peace, Sarah and Eric stood on the palace balcony. Below them, lights glowed, laughter echoed. Children played again. Eric handed her a small crystal. What's this? She asked. Something I made, a backup of your Guardian link, just in case. She smiled, still protecting me. He smiled back, always. They looked up at the sky. The stars were quiet again, but they both knew if darkness ever returned, Thurn's Guardian would rise again, and this time, she wouldn't rise alone.